Hello, it's Bubba Rocks Media, and it's my favorite time, the Rising Bands time. I'm Cheryl, and I'm super excited to have an awesome band join me tonight. It is Diamond Black. Well, look, thanks you all guys, seriously, for joining me. Like, I've been really looking forward to this. I'm literally a new fan, and super excited to get chatting. And yeah, let's do this. So how did I discover you? It was via Spotify of all places. What I do is I'm listening to a band and I will let Spotify, like kind of send me something that it thinks I might like. And I was listening at the time to a band called The Vantages from Finland, and then on comes Through the Misery.
Nice.
And off goes my ears. I'm like, oh, what is this? And like, I always want something that stands out from the crowd, something a bit different and a bit unique. And certainly you guys are. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
No, honestly, it's freaking brilliant. And that song in particular is special to me now because that's my intro song to Diamond Black. Nice. So just for my own interest and my own curiosity, can you just give me a bit of a inspo story behind the song? The one that got me into the band, basically.
Yeah, so that song was it was quite an interesting direction for us because up until that point we tended to do things that were generally a bit heavier, whereas that is a more atmospheric, certainly in terms of as the song starts, it has almost a Cure Killing Joke kind of feel to it, which are bands that we're into as well. So it was quite a different departure, and we co-write a lot of our songs with Yanni, who is the producer of the band, and that was one that he was quite involved in. And he came up with this idea of the chorus, but just this, he had this, it has to be the misery, it has to be the misery. I don't know what the rest of it is, but it has to be that. And then we found a way, interestingly, of changing it around so it wasn't a depressing song, it was actually an empowering song. It was actually a way of taking that phrase and putting a positive spin on it. And what was interesting was when we actually came to write the title of the song, it was just called The Misery. And then Adam had the brainwave of going, well, that makes it sound like it's a negative song. If we just put Through the Misery, that suddenly changes the whole take on how you perceive the song. First reading the title is it's about the process of working through something rather than simply you're at this point of misery. And just that little twist was a really cool way of taking the song further. And it was also an interesting, and it was also a cool song because it was the first one that we'd done that had a real focus on the rhythm section for the main thrust of the song as it began. So you've got very bass and drum heavy intro to the song, which was quite a different feel from something we'd had before.
No, look, that song's freaking brilliant. Like, and it absolutely is the one that got me into the band. And we're going to play it now, just for folks to hear. And it is Through the Misery. So what I actually really, really love is the deep poetic lyrics. I've always loved that. I mean, I'm a fan of the band Him, so I love deep poetic lyrics. And what I also noticed was for the EP, it's out 22nd of October, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think so.
There is an option to get the handwritten lyrics, which I have went for. I have ordered it, and that's just damn respect, because I am a pen and paper kind of person. I write everything down, so that's respect for that. But I'm curious then, when you are writing lyrics, are you old school? Like, do you use pen and paper, or are you more tech oriented? Because there's so many songwriters now and they just use their phones. But I'm super old school, so it's just a curiosity thing for me.
My technique is I like to sit down with the computer and a big screen. I used to do the pen and paper thing more just to jot down ideas. But I find working on a computer now it's much better for me than the phone. The phone is too imbued with other things like WhatsApp and text messages, and whereas the computer I can completely shut off from everybody else on it. having the big screen there, having the words there. But one of the things that was interesting about the lyrics of that song, it was the first one where I'd used a flow of consciousness process rather than trying to perfect it as I went through the song. I just kind of did this flow of consciousness where I came up with concepts and ideas and just ran with it, with the idea that no one's ever going to see these lyrics until I'm happy with them. And that was so much more freeing. It was a great technique that I learned from a chap called Pat Pattison, who taught me. I read this book and he taught about this great technique of you just do a flow of consciousness. You put yourself in a scene, you imagine things like what can you hear, what can you see in this place, the colors, the body movement. And that really helped me to get into the world of the song. So when you're talking about things like the second verse where it's nobody's sleeping in electric fear, the static that keeps me pleading, I really got into the sense of what would it be like, what's that feeling like when you're on your own in a room in the middle of the night, maybe you can't sleep and you're just kind of doom scrolling and you're just caught up in that kind of misery of comparison, of feeling insignificant, feeling jealous, feeling lost, and just to get inside that world. I was able to do that a lot more with this flow of consciousness. And I ended up being really happy with those lyrics for that song because I'd used that technique, and I've used that technique ever since to help me in a way that I hadn't done before. So again, that was a first. That song was a first for doing that.
That's really cool. Actually, I've never heard of that before. And actually, because I do a lot of work for helping brand new bands starting out. They DM me, they ask me to ask a lot of questions for bands like yourselves that are doing well, just to get insights and stuff. So that is absolutely fascinating, and that is really helpful. So thank you for that. So the EP itself, Dark Anthems, was there an overall theme behind it, like a storyline? Because I love to hear that kind of thing. And what song absolutely kicked it all off? And then you did, I think you mentioned before somewhere that there's 2 brand new songs that are going to be in it. So is there anything that you can let us know, a sneak peek, a wee bit of info at all on the new stuff?
Do you want to? Okay. Well, originally we had this idea of calling the first album Dark Anthems because we felt it encapsulated our sound. We've got a dark sound, but it's very anthemic. It's a combination of
all the songs become dark anthems themselves.
Yeah, and that's part of our songwriting blueprint. Really, is that we have what we aim to do is have an atmospheric, dark, emotional sound, but with something that's quite euphoric and quite stadium-like.
And don't forget heavy as well.
Yeah, of course, heavy.
Yes.
So yeah, and that anthemic quality being part of what that heaviness is, of something that's kind of quite fist raising and fist raising and rousing and like arena like, and that's sort of what we want to go for, is that combination of sounds that we've got. So we wanted to call the album that for various different reasons. We ended up in a situation whereby we had these 4 or 5 songs that we we've been working on and we hadn't released, and we thought, okay, we've got so many great new ideas, let's try and actually encapsulate these 4 or 5 songs that we've been working on but not completed, that was sort of part of our earlier era of the band. Let's get them done, let's get them out, let's bookend this era of the band. And so our actual album will be 10 completely new songs that were written in a much smaller space of time that encapsulate this band as we are now in the last couple of years. So all the tracks on the EP are from a certain era that we've now bookended with the EP, that acts as a kind of changing point, a line in the sand of now this is the next era of the band that we're doing with our album that we've written.
Love that kind of thing. And actually the song itself, Dark Anthems, it's one of the dopamine hitters for me that I love. I chase dopamine all the time with songs. It's just what I do. And that wee guitar riff at the start that kind of goes through it, I love that as well. Who actually was the one who came up with the wee riff? And also, was the song easy to create, or was it a bit more difficult? Were there challenges?
Well, it was that, funnily enough, that riff, that was originally just the guitar solo in the song. It wasn't actually a main motif. And when I played the bare bones of the idea, first of all, to the producer Yanni, he said, that bit's amazing. You have to use it more. So he then said, let's try and make that one of the main motifs of the song. So that was Yanni's ear going, that bit's ace. You guys should use that. And I think that song is quite a good one at summing up our sound, because the verses are very dark and atmospheric, and the chorus is so like rock anthem stadium. So I guess it's a good reason why that one's called Dark Anthems.
It's brilliant, and I just find it like one of those ones that just works. And like your man Yanni, like he's genius then for putting that in. Thank you, Yanni.
Yeah.
Actually, we're going to play that one now as well. So that's our next song, Dark Anthems.
When we lost our way, your darkness would guide us.
So like the other thing I want to ask about, I think it's you, Adam, is the artwork. Is it yourself that does all the artwork and the logos? Yeah, because they're freaking awesome. I love all that kind of thing. And again, I love the heartogram. It's like pure genius. So what I'd love to ask you is, again, for the new band starting out, is there any tips or tricks that you can offer them to help them create some cool logos or artwork for their bands? Because a lot of them, like the DMA, they're struggling with things like that, because some of them aren't, they're not graphic designers. So is there any kind of easy tips or tricks for them?
I guess it depends on what your band name is. And if you've got a short band name, it's easier than like a long sentence. You want it to be, I think, unless you're like a death metal like band, as simple as possible. Like something you can see like from a distance, like shape wise, and then you'll recognize it. It's lucky we're called Diamond Black, so it sort of lends itself to having a diamond. But shapes are important more than it's just the look. It's got to look visually striking, but not there's not, and it's got to also get across your genre. So it can't be, if you're like a punk band, then that sort of lends yourself to different font choices and different like you can make it a bit more grungy. So I guess it's think about what what your musical style is, and what you want to get across with your music, and then put it onto your visual and make that a representation of the music in graphic form. Is that easy or not?
Well, you're killing it right now anyway, because they're all so close. You guys are really experienced musicians now, and you're going to have so much value. You have a lot of your own projects going on. Ben, your Sisters of Mercy for quite a few years now as well. And I've had a lot of questions. This is one of the top ones I get asked to ask bands like yourselves, and it's new bands feel that they have to be perfect right now. Like ready to go, perfect sound, perfect look, perfect lineup, everything. And I just don't think that that's realistic for bands. I think bands need to evolve organically. So is there anything that you can offer to confirm that? And also like advice to these kids to get them to slow down a bit and avoid burnout, because they're pushing themselves too hard. And I don't know if it's a modern thing, if it's social media, or is there anything that you can tell them to get them to calm down and just chill and enjoy the process?
A little bit. I say, like, you don't have to be like everything perfect straight away. Like the band does evolve, but you should also treat your gigs and everything quite seriously, like it's a real thing, because people's first impressions will be really important, and you never know who's in the crowd, so you should try and give it your all performance wise and playing wise, but know that you're going to progress as a band and get better anyway. So it's on a bit of both. You need to be prepared.
I think it's
not too tight.
I think it's enjoying what you're doing, putting the work in, but being outcome independent. So regardless, you can't control what happens at your show. I mean, there's a certain amount you can control, but you have to be able to let go of if things don't go right as you perceive what right is. And remembering that most of the people in the crowd won't notice the difference between what you perceive as a 100% show and what you perceive as like a 70% show. As long as you keep that energy on the stage and you keep that positive vibe going out, if you're that sort of a band, rather than, oh no, we messed that up, and people who say stuff about stage, is just keeping that positivity and recognizing that even if something does go awry, it's actually something that's going to help you moving forward to then. And so much stuff has gone wrong for us across the years, and we've learned from it, and we've used it as a way of going, okay, next time let's prepare for that. So I think also recognizing that part of becoming the band and the sound that you are is about spending time together, and you can't just suddenly have spent loads of time together in the first 2 months of the band. You have the sound of what we are now, the aesthetic of what we are now is based on the time we've spent together as 3 people. And you can't like fast track that. And also remembering that many bands that we perceive that we love now didn't actually hit their stride until like album 3. I'm sure we've all discovered bands where we've all discovered bands where like, oh, what a great album, and then you think that's their first album. Turns out they did 3 albums before that like maybe you don't think are as good, but they had to do that in order to get to the point where you discovered them.
My advice would be to be yourself and be authentic. I think that's really, really important, because if you're if you're a musician and you're maybe writing something that's maybe doesn't come from your heart, or you just maybe following a trend, then people can see that, fans can see that you're kind of like faking it. So I really probably suggest to be authentic, be yourself. If you love what you do, if you love your music that much, if you put a lot of dedication, passion, and hard work, people can see through that as well, and they will relate to it. They will feel it, and I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, and
that's very well said.
You don't always have to play so perfectly if you've got that authenticity, because people will love the authentic side of it. And one tip that Dave Grohl always said: if you play the wrong note twice, and then it looks deliberate.
That's a good tip.
Very good.
But that's really true. Even now, I still mess up live. I think it's part of being a musician. No one is perfect. Even the best musicians out there, they still make mistakes live. And think about bands like Rush or Metallica. They mess up, but no one really cares about that. They're doing what they love. And with us Diamond Black, like Ben said, we learn from our mistakes. Sometimes we make mistakes here and there live, but we just move on and just carry on and just ignore it. Bands like Nirvana, actually, they messed up a lot live, but
that's some of the fun, isn't it? So you get a more unique show.
Well, people aren't interested in perfection; they're interested in authenticity. That's how we connect with other people. If you see a show that's like absolutely perfect, then what have you really got from it? If you see a bit where there's a mistake, or that's why people like outtakes and stuff so much, because you get to see the humanity of the people and you can relate to them and you can connect with them. So as Vincent said, authenticity is much more important than perfectionism. Plus, authenticity, doing the thing that you love, is the one thing that you can truly always rely on, that you'll understand and you'll know. You can't like guess, hey, what's going to be cool next week? Or should we do this because this is trending? You have to just do what you like, because that's the only thing you can ever really rely on, doing what feels right to you guys as a band.
Yeah. And overall, like that's the best answer I've had to that question yet from all 3 of you guys. But that is awesome. The other thing that I like to ask is like, the thing that I love the most about the band as well is the sound. It is unique, it's original, and you guys, there's that like dark gothic melancholy side to it, and then obviously the heavier side. But I also find like with the band this like almost 80s movie kind of feeling to some of the songs, where they're in the car and they're heading somewhere and they're going to achieve something and everybody's hopeful. The music does that for me as well. But I'm just really curious who band wise that you guys have been listening to that have helped as composers basically to create the sound of Diamond Black that we know now.
Well, what's I think interesting about it is that it comes from all 3 of our influences. So I'm very heavily into 80s stuff, Def Leppard, Bon Jovi, all those sorts of bands, which is what you may hear in like the big choruses. Yeah. However, I think what certainly Adam brings to the band, he's much more into 70s and 90s, and there's a kind of a scuzziness and a sort of snarliness that he brings to it that makes sure that it's not just what we end up calling Ben rock, which is this quite like shiny, hey, this is a really great Bon Jovi song. Adam brings that kind of edginess to it that from his 70s and 90s influences. And then Vincent has got this very comprehensive understanding of like all sorts of rock and metal music. He's a big progressive guy as well, if that's right, Vincent. And he's able to bring that level of like technicianship, new word I just made up, into the sound, which again gives it, I think, more musical depth and sophistication than whenever I write a drum part and it's just like dun ka dun ka. So he's able to take the very like the basic ideas. Yeah, he puts a second kick drum in.
Add a kick drum.
Yeah, that's very good. And there are certain songs on the record where what Vincent came up with, I just cannot believe that where it came from. And initially I was like, what the hell is this? And now I can't imagine the songs without those particular interesting ideas that he's brought from a very musical perspective. So it's kind of a combination of all those things, and I think that's what makes it have that expansive sound, whereas it is polished and it is melodic, but it's also snarling and scuzzy and dark, and it's also got a depth of musical sophistication to it that hopefully everybody can appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that's what creates that original sound that makes you stand out as well, which is what I love about is and then your vocals too, Ben. Brilliant. I love what you can do is, and like to me, vocals are always a huge part of a song to me anyway, and it's how you capture the emotion and give that across and that vulnerability. And what I'm always curious about with singers is there somewhere you have to go in your mind when you're recording the songs to be able to pull that level of emotion out for people to be able to connect to then?
Yeah, definitely. And you do. And when we were doing the album, Yanni was producing the vocals, we had some parts where we would really talk about the story of the song. What's happening? What are you feeling? Where are you? What's like, as if it was a movie. Where are you at this point in the song? And there were some bits where he actually made me cry because of the intensity of where he was making me go, like emotional memory, in terms, and there are a few bits where there are genuine like imperfections in the way that I sing, because he said, I don't care if the note is slightly flat or sharp. I can feel you. I can feel it. I can feel what you're singing. And I thought that was a really cool way of doing it. So it's a weird sort of middle ground where you have to, on the one hand, have technique and you have to be able to be in control of your performance. You still want to have a sense of authenticity and emotion coming through. And I think it's the same for any instrument. I mean, Adam's a singer as well, so he'll tell you what his experiences of doing that stuff are. What would you say your vibe on that is, Adam?
I've got a different one. I know I have to figure out what type of voice I want to sing for each song. So I've got a bit of a gnarly, what do you call it, a witchy voice, which is for some of the more gothy bits. And then I've got a lighter songs, lighter tones. I have to really decide what direction to go. And sometimes it changes in the line as well, so I have to switch between the two. So mine's more like figuring out the roadmap of it rather than the emotional side of it.
Yeah, so
we've got different ways of doing things.
Yeah, like almost choosing which guitar you're going to use for this part.
Yeah, exactly.
Like which instrument. Yeah, but it's a really good question, Cheryl, and it's one that I've discovered more recently from becoming a lead vocalist, of how that's much more important of being authentic than it is to like sing really high, or have a really, certainly for me, or to have like an amazing vibrato or whatever.
That's the 80s bit coming through.
Yeah. What was interesting on the album that you won't have heard yet is that Yanni really encouraged me on the album to sing in my own accent. Now, previously I've been singing in more of an American accent, like past and glass and last, but I don't say that. So I say last and past and glass. and getting that across on the album without it sounding like overtly Hugh Grant, like, oh, marvelous, that's from the past, isn't it? But finding that middle ground was quite interesting, and certainly felt a lot more authentic, and it dictated how some of the lyrics were written, because certain vowel sounds now, those words don't rhyme anymore, whereas they would have done if I was using an American or Northern England glass past sort of accent. So that's made me feel that it's even more authentic, and made me connect even more to the new songs on the album because of like almost sort of speaking some of the lines.
I actually prefer that as well. I've always preferred to hear the accent in the song. So I'm excited to hear that then too. And look, speaking of recording, I always have this wee question I like to ask, and it's just about recording studio superstitions or rituals. Because there was, I can't remember who it was a drummer. And Vincent, you might like this one. He had to have a certain stool that he would bring with him to the studio, or he wouldn't be able to record. He just wouldn't do it. Had to be that stool or nothing. And then the late great Ozzy Osbourne himself said that he had to sacrifice a firstborn if he was going into the studio. So I'm just curious, do you guys have anything like that at the moment?
Well, with us, because we all have our own recording setup, recording studio at home. So I guess it's a little bit different. I have my own recording setup, so everything's set up there, drums, mics, and everything, and I just basically sit down and record. And I don't have any of those weird rituals, unfortunately. Although what I do is, when Ben sent me the songs, I just really try and absorb everything. Listen to them. When I'm having breakfast or eating or whatever, I just try to absorb them. And basically the drum parts, I start writing them in my head before I even sit behind the kit and start playing. So I kind of already have an idea, different ideas, different patterns, different grooves, and then I sit down the kit and then play them. So might sound boring, but no, I don't have any weird rituals, or I don't have to sacrifice anything or anyone.
We recorded this album, the album remotely, so we all did it in different places. We don't go into one studio at one time. So I got my studio set up here. So I guess I need a Dalek. That's why I need. I need quite a nice mood setting. So I have to get quite a nice zen atmosphere and a nice lighting and stuff. That's how I get into it.
Yeah, lighting is very important. I always have to have some sort of herbal tea, even if it's just like a psychological placebo thing of making my voice feels better if I'm drinking like a herbal tea. But I've also recently realized that I like to not wear socks when I'm recording vocals. But I will wear slippers, but not socks. I don't know if it's just the aesthetic, but the socks feel restrictive. So that's definitely part of it.
I'm gonna kind of relate because I'm a barefoot type of person. So there you go. All right. You have mentioned Yanni as the producer that you've worked with a lot. And I'm curious. This is just something that I wonder, because I'm always wondering everything in life. But for bands in general, is there a certain time that you would prefer to bring in a producer for songs? Like, I know when bands are first starting out, maybe they can't afford it, or they don't really know who to go to or anything like that. But is there a time when it's like, right, we need to start bringing in a producer to help?
Well, Yanni's been such a key part of the band from the inception as one of the key writers in the project. So I feel like he's been there from the start. So this is maybe a slightly different example. And if I've perhaps come up with half a song idea and I'll show it to him, it will be terrifying, because he'll just sit there in silence listening to it, and he won't have any kind of response or reaction until I've pressed stop. And then because just his very bluntness, he'll just be like, either I look round, and this has happened, I've looked round and he's got tears in his eyes because he's connected with it in some way, which is amazing. And what a great response.
Wow. Yeah.
Or he's just like, And there was this great bit that we talk about quite a lot was when I was recording vocals with him, and because he's just so blunt and so straightforward about it, very, very un-British, that I was singing this verse round a whole bunch of times, and he just pressed stop and he went, "This is boring," right? And I was like, what? The song is boring, the vocal is boring, I'm boring, this whole process is boring, what's boring? But it was good because he was right. He was right that we weren't getting enough interest out of the part. And it saved a lot of time because rather than like, as I would have done it, which would have been more like, I love what we're doing here. Just let's experiment with a few more different sort of shades and colors. Perhaps if we can, it was like, this is boring. And so we just sort of was like, right, let's just do carte blanche with this and just try anything. So he's been super helpful in terms of his input to the band. And what I also liked about his production style that I've not really experienced with anybody else is before you even actually get in front of an instrument, he wants to talk about the song. What's the song about? Where are we? What's the scene? Who are the characters? What's the tale? What's the narrative? Which is all important into, okay, then how are we going to write this song? And it's so refreshing to have that kind of very creative approach to it rather than, hey, let's just write something good. What does that mean? So yeah, he's been really important. Adam, have you done much stuff with like an external like producer or engineer at all?
Well, I was going to say, it's like, depends what you want out of the production session. Like if you want to, like Yanni has, because he sort of co-writes as we go along, so the song evolves. We're not just giving him a demo and like re-recording it. So if you want that kind of relationship, then I guess you should find a producer you can work with in a writing sense. And also, I think for bands starting up, you could always self-produce stuff, which if you've got the skills. The only my only warning about self-producing is you get demo artists, and which is they just never finish the song and just keep perfecting it over and over again, and then never gets done. So you got to be quite self-disciplined to do that.
Yeah, and also when you have someone come in objectively, they might go,
yeah, exactly. You get in your own little zone and never get any influences.
And they're not emotionally attached to what's happened. So they might go, that flute solo that you've done, it doesn't suit the song. And you're like, but I spent 4 years perfecting my flute solo. It must be in there. But they're like, well, it doesn't sound right in the song. So get rid of it.
Actually, not being precious is quite a good bit of advice in general. Like, none of us are like, we won't be offended if anyone says anything about a specific part. And none of us are like, we need this. Like, if it's better for the song to change something, then it's always what's better for the song.
Yeah, and it's also because most of the time when we actually do offer some feedback, we give reasons for why we've said something. It's not just, that's rubbish, I don't like it. It's like, well, here's why it does. Well, you might. Here's why I think it works. Here's why I think it doesn't work. What do you think? And having that kind of rationale about it rather than just, I hate it. Helps people to see things from each other's point of view. And because we all respect each other's opinions, I think it's really useful to have feedback from others and be open to it, because again, I might just be lost in a world of Ben Rock flute solos and not have the guys to go, that's not really right for this song, is it?
Yeah, once you know that the people you're working with have all got the same goal, we're all trying to make the same thing work, then you don't mind the feedback so much. You know, everyone's doing it for the greater good.
Yeah, exactly.
What I think as well is for younger bands, they don't have to have a producer. You know, I think there's a lot of successful bands out there who didn't have a producer and they recorded an album and it was successful. But if you can get a producer, I think it's important that bit where you have an outside opinion, outside telling you, oh, this is too long, this is too long, or this is too short, or change the chords or change the melody here and there. I think that's also important. But I guess, like I said, there are no rules. I think bands don't have to have a producer, but it's also an advantage if you can afford a producer, or if you know someone, just to have that outside opinion and outside feedback input.
Yeah, absolutely. That outside feedback thing, that is like a really good point. And kind of moving on a wee bit from what you were actually saying there, this is something that a lot of kids DM me for, and it's about imposter syndrome, which is the curse of all creatives. And basically they feel, it's they want me to ask bands like you guys, I think, for validation too, to show they're not alone, you know, that it is common, everybody gets it. Even when you're successful and doing well, you still get imposter syndrome. But is there tips that you guys would recommend for overcoming that, or is it really just as a band as a whole together supporting each other?
Great question. When you say imposter syndrome, how do you define that?
Well, just basically that self-doubt, you know, where you get the voices that say you're not good enough, this isn't good enough, song's not good enough, and it's just constantly doubting. It's just like you guys have made hits, you know, you've got great songs out there. So how do you know that, you know, it is good, and how do you tell yourself that and overcome, you know, the self-doubt and things like that?
I
I think repetition definitely helps. Like, the more songs you write and the more gigs you play and the more everything, you just naturally get more confident and better at it, and you get more objective with like with your feedback to yourself as well. Get more honest with yourself.
Also, I think for creatives in general, that's kind of like normal, isn't it? Like, if you're a creative, whether you're a musician or an artist, when you create something, you always kind of doubt it. You always ask yourself, is this good enough before, you know, releasing it or putting it out there? I guess you just have to believe in yourself. You just have to believe in your work.
Yeah, and also having the others around you, which is why it must be more difficult when you're a solo artist, having the other guys around and just going, okay, even if the guys aren't saying this song is amazing, they're working on it and they're talented and they've got good experience and I trust their opinion. So the fact that they're putting effort into it and working on it means that it must have something. And that's enough. You don't need people to constantly be going, this is amazing, this is the best song we've ever worked on. It's just there. Actions, not words. You see the effort and the passion and the time that other people are putting into the band, and you go, actually, this must mean something. This must be going somewhere. So that's really helpful. But also there's an element whereby I think it's okay to put stuff out that isn't 100% the best it could possibly be. It's better just to keep that momentum going of doing more stuff. And it brings us back to our earlier concept of bands that we love, that we venerate, their earlier work, we don't consider it to be perfect. We go, oh, actually, their first album wasn't that good, but then by the third one, they were amazing. So it's that having that courage to just put stuff out there and go, okay, that's what I'm doing now. Things may get better. And as circumstances get easier for the band as they move forward, because they have a fan base, they have support, they have encouragement. So just being able to just keep going and remembering that no one's going to be agonizing about, is that hi-hat on verse 2 too loud in the way that you are, because they're just enjoying the song. So yeah, I think those are some good ways of looking at it.
I think that artists with a bit of like self-doubt and self-criticism actually go further because they've got space to grow. I've known a lot of bands that just think they're the best thing ever, and they're all four of them in the band are just high-fiving each other all the time. We're going to be selling out Wembley next year and that kind of stuff. That's just as bad an attitude, because it's obviously not going to work out, and you can't take any feedback because you think you're great already. So humility.
Also, just remember that you can't please everybody. So there are people who are going to like your music and also hate your music. So, you know, you might as well just release something that you love and you're authentic and you're original and you believe in it. If you put enough hard work and dedication and you believe in it, you know, just put it out there.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And the fact is that the bigger that you get, the more people are going to hate you, because there's just more people involved in hearing your music. And it's often been said that it's quite good to be divisive and polarizing and to have lots of people who dislike your music, because it means you're having an emotional impact. It's not just everyone's like, yeah, it's all right. You've got people like, oh my God, it's amazing, or I hate it. That's good. It's art. You're creating a response. You're creating a reaction. And again, the numbers game is, if 100 people like you, then maybe 2 people hate you. If 10,000 people like you, then maybe 2,000 people hate you. And that's okay.
Don't focus on the negatives.
And that's
Remember,
okay. Yeah,
99 out of the 100 that like you.
exactly.
Yeah, no, that's well said, guys. And a wee bit of fun now. This is one of my favorite questions to ask a band. And it's basically the first time that you ever got on a stage to perform. You could have been 5 years old, anything like that. It's just for me, when I first got up on a stage, I was forced to go to dance lessons and I hated it. And you literally pushed me onto a stage, and it haunted me for life. So I will not get on a stage. But clearly, you guys, it hasn't done that to you, because you're still performing. So, like, what was your first memory of performing on stage in front of people? Was it good? Was it negative? Was it nerve-wracking? Yeah, tell me more.
I remember mine. I was playing at Hastings Music Festival. It's like a classical music festival. There's very lots of competitions, but I was playing keyboards, or synths. I was the only keyboard player. Everything else was completely classical, and so it's like very stuffed shirt kind of judges and stuff. So when I played like Muse or whatever it was, everyone was like, "What is this?" Apart from like one of the judges who thought it so good that he asked me to come back and do like the closing ceremony thing.
Wow.
So it's so I was very different to everyone else at the time, but stick with it. I guess
that's good. But then you were divisive. So another example.
Yeah, sure.
What you did was you got a really positive response from that one person, which is better than like
before the end of Back to the Future, where it's like your kids you're not ready for this, or the kids are going to love it.
Oh yeah. Well, that's funny because that links exactly into what my experience was, which was when I was 11. I took part in the Christmas talent show in year 7 at my school, and I wanted to play Johnny Be Good just like Marty McFly does in Back to the Future.
Wow.
Which is like a heavier, more rocked up version of it. So I did that, and it was the first time I'd ever performed live, and I had like one backing like support guitar that I'd recorded myself, and I was playing over it. I wasn't singing, I was just playing. And I wasn't very popular in year 7 because I had long hair and my school was very kind of like mainstream. And at the end of that performance, and this is how I remember it, and this could be wrong, but this is how emotionally I've interpreted it, was it felt like everybody gave me a standing ovation, everybody was cheering, and it was just so energizing. And I remember it like that. It may well have been like 60 people clapping loudly, but to me, when I remember it, it was almost like 1,000 people stood up. And it showed me that if you have a passion for something, then generally people respect you a bit more. I could have maybe gone up there and done, I don't know, like a really good xylophone solo, or showed how I've made my own t-shirts and they were really good. But it was that having passion for something and putting work into it. So that for a few weeks after I did that, I didn't get bullied quite as much. I remember these kids coming up to me and about to start the usual kind of having a go at me. And I grew up in Bristol, so there's a very strong Bristolian accent there. And some kids came up to me like, "Ear mate, you little fucking," and his friend goes, no, wait, he's really good on the electronic guitar. And that sort of saved me from being bullied for a couple of weeks until they all forgot about it. But that was what set me on the path. That feeling of having played that guitar part, that song, having that response from people who generally were quite hostile towards me hitherto, then made me feel, this is great. I love this feeling, and I want to do it more. And that sort of set me on my path.
Nice.
My first live performance was in high school with my high school band, and we basically played in front of the entire campus. There's probably about 1,000 students there from first year high school to 4th year high school, and surprisingly enough, I didn't feel nervous at all. I was actually, this was the opposite. I was so excited, and I can remember I was really rocking out, and I was just going for it, and also that was when I realized I belong on stage, and that's what I wanted to do. So it was a great day for me.
Really positive, yeah.
I take it you're playing drums.
Yeah.
Do you remember what song it was?
We played 3 songs. One of them was Black Sabbath, one Red Hot Chili Peppers, and one the Beatles.
That's good selection.
It's all cover songs because at that time we were just starting out. It's the first live performance, and we haven't really written anything. But it was a lot of fun for me. I was really excited. That was it for me. That was the moment. Yeah, this is what I want to do.
Nice.
Love that. And actually, we're going to play another song now, and it is In Venom.
It's the time when fears drag you down. Fears drag you down to where you'll never be so.
And I actually love the key changes in that one. It is so dopamine hitting for me. Absolutely love it. And it's actually a collab with Chris Harms of Lord of the Lost. And what I'd love to know is, how did the collab come about, and how important is it for rising bands to do collabs nowadays?
I'd known Chris from a while back. We played in a one-off covers band at a festival a number of years ago, and that's how I met him. We sort of stayed in touch ever since. And when we were approaching the song, and as a fledgling band, that we were thinking, what can we do? Who can we? What contacts have we got that we can tap into that can help us at this early part of the journey? People to do collabs. We also had some great people from bands give us nice testimonials about the band as well. Those things really helped. And it just felt like this was a song, because of the low nature of the verses, that Chris would really, really lend his voice really well to. And it turned out fantastically. So that song, when it came out, was the first time that we'd done anything like that. And we were able to really enjoy having access to the Lord of the Lost fans as well, who we felt were like a relevant fan base for us for that song.
Yeah, it is such a good song. I absolutely love it. And the other thing I want to talk about is the podcast, Diamond Cast. It's bloody brilliant. I love it. And I wish more bands would do things like that. It gives you so much more insight into you guys as a band, news and value. Like, you are always given value in it as well from the episodes that I've been watching. Who's the genius behind it?
That would be Mr. Adam Hart. I had no concept of anything. One of the things that I've got so much respect for is when bands can do indirect ways of pushing their band forward. That isn't just time and time again, listen to our song, have you listened to our song? It's like, how do you make people interested in your band and your message without just throwing your song at them all the time? And this was such a clever thing that Adam came up with let's do a podcast. And I don't know, how did you come up with this concept, Adam? It's brilliant.
I don't know. I was watching another one and I thought we could do that. But what's we said earlier, what's really good about, we really know each other quite well because we've been playing together. But the podcast really helps doing that as well. It's like we're hanging out every week, even though we're across in different places. And the reason why we just thought about doing a podcast is because we're a band. We put like one music video out, every couple of months, which gets a load of traction, but then it kills off in the algorithm in between times. So there's nothing to post. So if you do, this is a good way of keeping a constant, stream of content for everyone as well, and keeps the band in people's memory.
Yeah, and it also allows people to connect with. It allows people to connect with our personalities and our character as a band and as individuals in a way that is almost like watching a TV show. Like, there are no catchphrases, and sometimes when the fans do like bingo during, it's like, is that catchphrase going to come up? Is that thing going to come up? Which is, again, it's like watching your favorite TV show and your favorite characters and catchphrases and concepts. So I think that's a really strong indirect way of building a following, and it's then naturally spawned into some other great things that Adam's put into play, like the Discord, which is a community where then the fans outside of interacting with us will interact with each other, and shared themes that are encouraged by the lyrics and the message of the band, to do with like mental health and connectivity and community, which is something so cool that I've never had with any kind of band before. It's always been just like, oh, it's about the music, guys, and that's it. This is like, let's take it further. Let's take the music and develop it into something beyond simply the songs themselves.
Actually, there's quite a lot of being in a band is not doing music. There's good other things that can help the band a long way.
Yeah, no, that's true, but it is brilliant, and it's such a genius thing to do, and I really hope more bands start to do it, because it's brilliant. But I'm going to go on to a random question now, and this is because we're in spooky season now. It's my favorite time of year. This is when I come alive. Yay! And first of all, do you guys embrace Halloween? I'm assuming you do. And what has been your best ever costume ever that you've ever dressed up in that you can think of?
Well, I can tell you my worst ever costume.
Even better.
It was pathetic, right? What I did was I wore a black vest, which is what I normally wear anyway, and I cut out a series of little lines that I stuck, like paper lines, down the front of the as and I did them with a sense of perspective. So the idea was that it was supposed to look like you were looking at a road and the road was going away from you. So you got this like the white lines in the middle of the road as if you are looking down along Black Road. And I wore a pair of devil horns. What do you think it was?
Yeah, what's got fucking
AC? No.
No, I don't know.
Don't know.
Vincent, you are on the right track.
The demon from AC/DC or whatever that
Highway to Hell.
You got it, Cheryl. You got it, Cheryl. That was it. Highway to Hell, right? That was what it was. However, all that anybody said to me was like, "Are you like a skeleton or something?"
I love the thought, though.
Yeah. So conceptually, it was good. It was just the execution of it was very poor.
Yeah, you came as a song as well. That's quite.
See?
Quite
Yeah.
Quite, I was starting to think of a film when you would try and make me guess. I didn't even think of it as a song. That's quite abstract.
Yeah, it was maybe too abstract. But yeah, that was my worst one.
What about you guys?
I can't really think of one. I remember I've done this puppet from Saw before. I can't really remember many anecdotes. I used to get quite into it. I used to like to try and scare my nan all the time, but she's not around anymore, so I don't dress up as much.
so boring, not even worth mentioning, because I think I just dressed up as a rock star. I fucking wore a leather jacket and it's boring and put
Just
a band.
Just like generic rock star.
Yeah, well, it's just, no.
Manifested it.
No, it's either wars or just lame. It's pure. It's just lame.
Wow.
Well, look, I'm a horror
Like,
fan as well, and
Yeah.
what I'd love to hear from you guys is Diamond Black's top 3 horror movie recommendations for Halloween time to watch for fans.
Cube's first one.
Cube. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, because Adam and I
Yeah.
recently discovered that we both really like that film.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have you ever seen that film, Cheryl?
What was it? I missed that.
It's called Cube, Cube.
I don't know if I've seen it or not.
1997, and it's a really clever independent film where the concept is, and Adam likes this concept and so do I, where the protagonists wake up in a situation and they don't know where the hell they are or how they got there. And the film is like figuring that out. It's really good. I think it was filmed in like 3 rooms and they just kept using the rooms over and over. And it's really gripping storyline. It's really cool. So I definitely gonna go with Cube. Have you guys got any others?
I can do the thing. Because we realized the other day that the thing is actually quite a sympathetic character. So when you watch it from the perspective of the monster, of the alien, not the humans, it's actually different light. So watch it.
I always feel sorry for the monster every time.
Yeah, that was quite a fascinating concept that actually in our last podcast that Adam and Nat rose the idea that seeing it from the creature's point of view in the thing is a really interesting way. That it was an alien who's landed and trying to get away but unfortunately he's been caught up in all this stuff with the people. And it was pointed out to me by those guys that there's a book that's been written, a short story that is written from the Thing's perspective, and it's called The Things, as if it is looking at the people as the things plural. And I started reading it and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So great recommendation there.
Oh, I must check that out.
And finally, I just love The Shining. And I just think Jack Nicholson's so brilliant. I love Stanley Kubrick's direction in it. He just creates such an amazing sense of atmosphere within the hotel. Just these like long, slow tracking shots of this terrifying space. It's just really, really iconic. Whether or not I've watched it again more recently because I used to watch it as a kid, and I'm like, is this actually a good film, or is it just Jack Nicholson being over the top? But I think my lifelong love of it means I can't be objective about it anymore.
And which is better, the book or the movie?
Well, the book is a much more in-depth exploration of Jack Torrance, the character, his descent when he moves to the hotel. He's a recovering alcoholic, and the slow like disintegration. Whereas in the movie, we were saying this the other day, like even in the interview scene at the start where Jack goes to the hotel, he's already like manic. He's already like, hey, nothing bad's gonna happen here, I guarantee it. He's already like Jack Nicholson. So I think Stephen King famously didn't like the film because it didn't reflect the actual true interior disintegration of Jack Torrance's character. It was just Jack Nicholson being crazy. But I like both.
I think my favorite Stephen King adaptations, to go off on a bit of a tangent, are the films of his that aren't horror films, like Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption. I think they're
they're
the
good.
best adaptations, better than some of the horror ones.
He's actually, I think, a really strong thriller writer, more so perhaps than horror. And some of his works that he did under the pseudonym of Richard Bachman that are more thrillery, like The Long Walk, which has just come out as a movie, The Running Man, which they're making a proper version of now. They're making a proper adaptation rather than like the silly Arnie one. Are really, really, really good thrillers, like proper page turner concepts that are amazing. So yeah, you're right that he's actually, and Thinner is sort of a horror, but it's also a bit of a thriller. And one, if you guys have never read it, is called The Langoliers, which is one of the best books I've ever read. It's Stephen King, but it's not horror; it's more a thriller. Highly recommended.
Awesome. Oh, amazing. I'm going to check some of those out too. That Cube movie, I have to look into it. I've probably already seen it, knowing me, because I always forget the name of movies that I've seen. But look, moving on, talking about touring and performing here as well. You guys are no strangers to it. And what I'd love to know is, have you learned by any mistakes from touring and performing that you can pass this knowledge on now to the kids so that they don't make the same mistakes?
Lots.
I mean, mine's more something to avoid. It's like, take care of your body on the start of the tour, because I've always ended up breaking something, and I broke my toe on like the first date of our tour last time, and I had to hobble around for like 2 weeks and couldn't carry anything. So that was some. So yeah, try and look after yourself. That's the best sounding advice.
Definitely, yeah, definitely good advice. I guess having spares of stuff as well is really useful. Just
sensible.
being a bit mindful about, if you've got space to do that, just having spares for things, understanding a bit about your gear in terms of if something goes wrong, that you can fix it at a show or on the fly. Having plan B for things is good. So having that flexibility of getting out on the road and having options on things and being ready to pivot if something goes wrong. And recognizing that something going wrong can be an opportunity for you to do something in a different way, rather than, oh no, now it's all gone wrong. So I think, yeah, it's about being prepared, but also having the attitude of, this is an adventure. This is meant to be a great experience, and approaching it with that curiosity, rather than what I used to do. Was I used to approach every single gig with just terror and anxiety of something's going to go wrong and I don't know how to prepare for it. So like not even really enjoying it until the gig was done. It's like, oh God, thank God it went well. Great. Now I can enjoy it, but it's all
gone. My advice is, well, now I forgot about it. Well, actually, always be on time. Always be on time. Don't be a dickhead. And because the thing is, a lot of these young bands, I'm guilty of this as well. When I was younger in my other bands, when you're touring, you're excited, you want to drink, you want to trash the hotel room, trash the dressing room, stuff like that. And trust me, that you will never get far with that kind of attitude. Number one is drinking. Yes, you can have a drink here and there, but if drinking affects your performance, the way you deal with people, promoters and stuff, and like I said, your band will never get anywhere. Trust me. Always just always be on time, and always be professional. Treat people nicely. Treat other bands nicely, and you never know who you're gonna meet on the road, and one of them might give you different kinds of opportunities in the future. So as much as possible, like I said, don't be a dickhead. I
think that's a really good point, because there's so many bands and it's so hard to get anywhere. Why would you ever want to give anybody a reason to dislike your band? It's so hard to try and get anywhere. So let's just,
you gotta make connections.
and people remember read something the other day that says something like, people don't remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel. And if you've made someone feel negative in a gig situation, they won't remember why or what it was. It's, oh, those guys were dicks. I don't really remember why, but they were dicks. So yeah, definitely things like punctuality and being respectful of the other bands is so important, particularly as a support band, or even as a headliner, like giving that time and that space to the other bands, because remembering you were there once as well, is really important. So important. I think that's such a good advice, Vincent.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've heard so many stories from bands, from crew, from tour managers about other bands on the verge of getting signed, literally on the verge of getting signed to a major record label, but because they fucked up at the last minute, they were dropped, or they weren't even.
That's what happened to my band when I was 18. I think I went to the meeting. Yeah, I think I went to the meeting with a record label drunk and fucking blew it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And I've heard so many of those. Honestly, I've heard so many of those, and also not just the band, but the musicians, the individuals themselves. You know, I've actually seen and witnessed people just wasted a big opportunity because they were drunk, or they messed, or they just a dickhead, and they lost the gig. They got fired because of that, because of their attitude, and you know. That's why it's so important. Just try and get
and it's not fair, because you've got 3, 4, 5 people in the band, and if one person lets everybody else down, then that's it, isn't it? That's over, and it's really unfair. Yeah,
that's really good advice. Thank you so much for that, actually, guys. And your tour starts soon, 24th, is it?
Yeah.
What can new fans expect from a live show?
Well, I think our show is a little bit different from other bands for a number of reasons. One is that we talk quite openly about the meanings of the songs before the songs. And afterwards, people have often come up to us and said, I've never seen you guys before, but what you guys said about that song really, really meant something to me. And it's been a great way of connecting with people. Also, what we try and do is we create a show environment whereby we've got some things on a backing track like keyboards and stuff. So it means that from the start of the show to the end of the show, everything is always the same length. And it means that in between the songs, we have little bits of keyboard music, which create an atmosphere of the song that's about to come. So that was something that we did that personally, I wanted to avoid that whole, the song ends and you're like shuffling around on stage and people are like, what are we doing now? It's like, we always know what's happening next, which creates something from start to finish that is a bit more of a production rather than getting on stage and just like messing about. And so, yeah, I think that's something, those two things make us a bit different from other bands.
Yeah. And we're going to be wrapping this up soon, but we're going to do a few more I like this fun one here. It's basically, if you could take Diamond Black to any decade to perform, what decade would you choose? Would you go back in time, or would you take a risk and go forward in time?
Wow.
That's an interesting question.
If we go back to 1703, are we still allowed to like use electricity?
No.
Right, so we have to do like an acoustic set.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess we see it for the 90s, won't we?
Yeah. Oh, maybe if we went back to the 80s and we did like what we do then, it would be so groundbreaking that
we'd kill hair metal off quicker.
We'd like instantly become hugely successful. maybe. Or maybe people like it would be the Back to the Future effect of, you know, like you said, Adam. You guys might not be ready for this, but your parents are going to love it.
Yeah, and everyone else will be doing hair metal when we start doing our songs. So we'll
yeah, and it'll be like, yeah, you guys are so you've lost the plot. What is this? We don't understand. And I guess if you went to the future, well, that's weird, isn't it? It's starting to get into all the kind of weird, like paradoxes and stuff. If we went to the future, then well, we already exist now, so we would then exist in the future as well as us now, and people would be like, but you guys were from the 2020s, and how are you here? It's too complicated. I can't deal with it.
Yeah, we know the trends on if we go back in time. We can exploit the timeline.
You're not meant to see your future self either, isn't that right?
No.
Yeah.
Interesting. But look, we're going to actually be playing out with Fall Into the Silence that you did with Chloe
Nice.
Oswald.
Cool.
Brilliant song again, and I actually really love the video, which gives me some nostalgia back to the hymn Sacrament song. Now I don't know, because I'm not techie, so I wouldn't know at all, so I'm not even going to pretend to know, but the way that it's shot is in that like dreamy slow-mo kind of way, and I know that back then they shot it with certain cameras and they had to sing it like fast speed and then it slowed down in production. Is that how it was done? Is there a new way of doing that nowadays that kids can, you know, maybe look into for what if they want to achieve the same thing? And if it is sung at that high speed, how do you do that and still look good at the same time?
Right, but we do it that way. It's still done double speed. Not always. So you do like a lot of takes normally, and then a couple of takes are double speed.
Yeah.
And you just got to sort of just perform, focus on performing and not playing on the notes right. And that's the secret. So it looks cool. Because you'll be all slow motion. Anyway, so.
Yeah.
I remember the drum basically double.
Oh yeah,
time.
drums are really funny.
Yeah,
That
so
was
if
good
the
drums.
tempo is, for example, 90, we played it 180, just double time, just, you know, really fast. And I remember, because we didn't even rehearse that. We just said, our videographer, Charlie, said, play in double time. And so I didn't have time to rehearse it. I just, okay, play along with it. And the result was quite amazing.
And why it works is because it's exactly double. It's not just faster, it's exactly double. So it means it's still in time. So if the original is anyone, anywhere, then we're going anyone, anywhere,
Yeah.
anyone. So it's exactly double. So it means that you can then manipulate it better.
Yeah,
Rather than
double
it
the
just
frame
being,
rate when you're recording it. If anyone's going to do it, you double the frame rate when you record it. So then when you half speed it, it's got the same frame rate as normal.
Yeah, it looks cool. I love it. It's like, and that's really good actually, and it does look great. You know, it is a great way to do it. But look, have you any final words of wisdom for the new bands that you wish you had known back at the start?
I think it's about persistence and just having that, enjoying the process, being persistent, and always having communication with the other people in the band. Because the reason why bands in the past have fallen apart for me is because people haven't talked about how they're feeling, and things have festered and things have got blown out of proportion, and then things have exploded. And if you can keep a strong level of communication between each other and trust each other and be able to say at the start, look, one of the things I think is important in our band is we'll be able to talk to each other about how we feel, then that's going to, I think, take you way further than like finding the magic formula of the cool new music or whatever. It's about being able to trust and believe and talk to each other and communicate to then stop all these possible resentments and things from festering.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also important. So it's important to love what you do, because you know, whether you like it or not, there's going to be a lot of frustrations and struggles along the way. If you don't love what you do, you might end up being frustrated or just completely giving up. So love what you do and do it with passion, do it with integrity.
Yeah, there's that whole thing about the only person who ever stops you is yourself in terms of achieving a goal. And we've all seen bands where we're like, why are they doing so well? They're not that good. It's because they keep going. It's because they keep going, and they've probably got a good relationship with each other as well.
Well, Ben just used my bit of advice. So there we go. It's only over when you quit. So keep going.
Well said, guys. And look, is there anything else that you are working on? Anything else coming up apart from like the tour, the EP? Anything else happening?
Well, we've been working on
our album.
Yeah, so we've been working on our album, a 10-track album that we've been working on, I guess, for about a year in terms of the writing, the recording, and now we're on the mixing stage. And yeah, that's taken up a lot of our time, but we're really, really pleased with it.
Amazing. Well, I'm excited for it all, and please come to Belfast at some point. I would love that. I'm going to be seeing you. I'm seeing Vincent. You're playing with Esprit d'Air, aren't you? In February, I believe.
Yes.
We're
November.
and It's February.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think you're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
February.
I know because it's on my birthday. That's how I know.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about
All good. Well, look, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and talking about the music. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you, Cheryl. We really appreciate it. Yeah.
And now we're going to play Fall Into the Silence.
In